Welcome to our deep dive into Temu. We need to talk about Temu. This app is everywhere right now, blowing up your feeds with those crazy cheap deals, like 3 t-shirts for $5 cheap. But let's be real, we've all been burned by too good to be true apps before. So today we're diving deep into the dark side of Temu. Is this app legit, or a straight-up scam? We're talking fake reviews, shady data practices, and even potential ties to forced labor. You do not want to miss this. Alright, first up, let's talk about those too good to be true reviews. We've all seen them, right? 5 stars, glowing praise, maybe even a picture of someone who looks suspiciously like a model rocking that $2 Temu dress. But here's the thing, a lot of these reviews, they ain't exactly what they seem. We dug deep, and what we found was shady AF. Think about it, when's the last time you left a 5-star review for anything? Most people, if they even bother leaving a review at all, it's because something went wrong. But on Temu, it's almost like everyone's experience is amazing. And that's statistically improbable, my friends. We're talking about a massive amount of evidence pointing to fake reviews and bots artificially inflating Temu's ratings. There are even reports of people getting paid to leave positive reviews, or being offered free products in exchange for 5 stars. So yeah, take those glowing testimonials with a grain of salt, or maybe a whole salt mine. And it gets worse. Because it's not just the reviews that are fake. Sometimes the products themselves are straight up bait and switches. People are ordering what they think are name brand goods like, say, a pair of AirPods, but then they get the package, and boom, the AirPods have no Apple logo, the sound quality is worse than a dollar store radio, and they basically fall apart if you look at them wrong. And the worst part, when people try to complain, they often hit a brick wall. Temu makes it notoriously difficult to get refunds or even contact customer service. So, you're stuck with a piece of junk that you paid way too much for, even if it was only a few bucks. Look, I'm all for a good deal, but not when it comes at the cost of honesty and transparency. This ain't about being cheap, it's about not getting scammed, and based on what we've seen, Temu is skating on some very thin ice. Okay, so we've established that Temu might be playing a little fast and loose with product reviews. But what about something even more important, your data? Buckle up, because this is where things get really shady. See, Temu is owned by a Chinese company called Pinduoduo. And Pinduoduo? Yeah, they don't exactly have the best track record when it comes to privacy. In fact, they were literally banned from Google Play for malware. Yeah, you heard that right, malware, on their app. So, maybe not the most trustworthy company in the world, and it gets worse. Because experts are now warning that Temu might be up to the same tricks, collecting way more data than they need, and potentially even using it for nefarious purposes. We're talking about everything from your location data to your contact list to even, potentially, your banking information. And look, I'm not a tech expert, but that sounds pretty freaking invasive to me. And it's not just speculation either. There have already been lawsuits filed against Temu alleging that they're spying on users and sharing their data without consent. So yeah, maybe think twice before you hand over your credit card info to Temu, because you might be getting more than you bargained for. Alright, let's talk about those free gifts that Temu is always pushing. The ones where they're like, invite your friends and get a free iPad. Yeah, about that. Look, I'm not saying that no one has ever gotten a free gift from Temu, but the way they run their referral program is straight up predatory. It's basically a pyramid scheme disguised as a shopping app. Here's how it works. You sign up for Temu, and they bombard you with offers for free stuff. But to actually get the free stuff, you have to jump through a bunch of hoops. Like, you have to invite a certain number of friends, and those friends have to make a purchase. And then you have to click on this link and spin this wheel, and sacrifice a goat to the algorithm gods. You get the idea. And even then, there's no guarantee that you'll actually get the free gift. People are reporting that they've invited dozens of friends, made multiple purchases, and still haven't gotten their free stuff. And even if you do manage to get a free gift, it's often something completely worthless. Like a 1-cent phone case that falls apart if you look at it wrong. Look, I'm all for a good deal, but this ain't it. This is just straight up manipulation. They're using the promise of free stuff to trick people into spending money and giving up their personal information. Don't fall for it. Okay, so you bought something from Temu, and it arrived, and surprise, surprise, it's not exactly what you were expecting. Maybe it's the wrong size, maybe it's the wrong color, maybe it's just straight up broken. Whatever the reason, you want to return it. Well, good luck with that, because Temu's return policy is about as clear and concise as a bowl of alphabet soup. First of all, you have to contact their customer service, which is like trying to get a hold of the Wizard of Oz. You'll be transferred from one department to another, put on hold for hours, and forced to listen to the same elevator music on repeat until you want to tear your hair out. And even if you do manage to get through to a human being, there's no guarantee that they'll be able to help you. They might tell you that the item you bought isn't eligible for a return, or that you have to pay for return shipping, or that you have to ship it back to China, which by the way can cost more than the item itself. And even if you're willing to jump through all of those hoops, there's still no guarantee that you'll actually get your money back. People have been complaining about Temu's return policy for months, and the company has done nothing to address the issue. In fact, some people are even reporting that they've been blocked by Temu after requesting a refund. Look, I get it. Temu is cheap, but is it really worth the hassle of dealing with their return policy? Okay, so we've talked about the fake reviews, the shady data practices, the predatory free gift scheme, and the impossible return policy. But it gets worse, because now we need to talk about the elephant in the room: Temu's potential ties to forced labor. Remember how I mentioned that Temu is owned by a Chinese company called Pinduoduo? Well, it turns out that Pinduoduo has a pretty shady history when it comes to labor practices. In fact, the US government literally banned imports from Pinduoduo over concerns that they were using forced labor. Yeah, you heard that right. The US government literally banned products from Temu's parent company because they were worried about forced labor. Now, to be fair, there's no direct evidence that Temu itself is using forced labor, but given their parent company's track record, it's definitely something to be concerned about. And look, I'm not trying to tell you what to do with your money, but if you're concerned about ethical sourcing and human rights, you might want to think twice before you buy from Temu, because there's a good chance that your cheap t-shirt was made by someone who was forced to work in dangerous and inhumane conditions. So, there you have it, the ugly truth about Temu. Look, I'm not saying that Temu is a scam in the traditional sense. They're not like taking your money and running, but they're definitely engaging in some shady business practices. From the fake reviews to the data privacy concerns to the potential ties to forced labor, there are just too many red flags to ignore. If you're looking for cheap goods, there are plenty of other online retailers out there who aren't engaging in these kinds of practices. Want us to investigate another too good to be true trend? Comment below, and don't forget to like and subscribe. We expose scams so you don't have to learn the hard way.